I wasn't snooping, I swear. One morning, I just wanted to check a shipping confirmation on my husband's laptop. He had left it open on the kitchen table. I clicked the browser, and before I could even type, an email thread popped up. The subject line said, "Divorce strategy." I froze. I thought maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But then I saw my name, and one sentence stood out like fire on the screen. "She'll never see it coming." At first, I couldn't move. I just stared at the screen, heart pounding, hands shaking. I clicked through the emails. There were messages between Thomas and a divorce lawyer. They'd been talking for weeks. He was planning everything behind my back. He wanted to file first, hide assets, and twist things so I looked like the bad one. He had plans to say I was unstable, that I didn't contribute to the marriage, that he deserved more than half. He even mentioned trying to cut me off from our accounts before I could react. I felt like I couldn't breathe. This was the man I trusted, the man I built a life with. We had dinner together just the night before. He kissed me goodbye every morning. I never saw it coming. But I wasn't going to fall apart. I took a deep breath and made myself calm down. I quickly took screenshots of every email. I backed up the files and sent them to a private email I used only for emergencies. Then I closed everything like I had never seen it. Thomas thought I was clueless. He thought I was soft, someone who would fall to pieces and do whatever he said. He thought I was just a wife who needed him. He had no idea who I really was. I smiled when he came home that evening. I made his favorite dinner. I listened to his day like nothing had changed. I nodded, I laughed, I kissed him goodnight. But in my mind, something had shifted forever. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was focused. He didn't know I had seen everything. He didn't know I had proof. And he definitely didn't know that while he had been planning behind my back, I was now planning behind his. He went to sleep thinking he was in control. But that night, as he snored beside me, I opened my laptop in the dark and started a new folder. I named it Freedom. Inside it, I placed every screenshot, every note, and every detail I would need. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to win. Quietly, smartly, on my terms. Thomas always thought I needed him. He liked to play the role of the strong husband, the one who took care of everything. I let him believe that. It made things easier. He saw me as just a supportive wife who stayed home while he worked. What he didn't know was that I was already wealthy before I met him. I didn't marry into comfort. I brought it with me. Long before Thomas, I had built my own company from the ground up. I had made hard choices, worked long nights, and taken risks most people wouldn't dare to. That business turned into an empire worth over $400 million. I kept a low profile, avoided the spotlight, and let others take credit in public. I never needed praise. I needed freedom, and I had it. When I married Thomas, I let him handle a few things. We combined some accounts, bought a few properties together, and even shared one investment account. But the big stuff? That was always in my name, under my control. I didn't tell him every detail. Not because I didn't trust him then, but because I had learned early in life to always protect what I built. After I saw his emails and learned what he was planning, I didn't panic. I went quiet. I smiled like nothing had changed. And slowly, carefully, I started pulling things apart. I reviewed every joint account and made a list of what was in my name and what wasn't. I looked over the properties, the stocks, the trusts. I made notes on everything. Some things were easy to move. Others would take time. But I had the patience. And I had a plan. I made a few calls to my accountant, my business lawyer, and an old friend who specialized in asset protection. We didn't talk in my house. I used a separate phone, a private line Thomas didn't know about. Every conversation was quiet, short, and to the point. I started with the basics. I separated my name from the things we shared. I removed myself from accounts that tied me to his business. I closed anything that made me vulnerable. Then I opened new ones. I registered a company under a name no one would trace to me. I moved small amounts at first, nothing noticeable. Every step I took, I checked twice. No mistakes. No noise. Just quiet progress. One afternoon, I told Thomas the first was going to the spa. I smiled, kissed his cheek, and left in a black car. But I didn't go to any spa. I went to a private bank, not the one we used together. A different one, in a different name, with different rules. I brought documents, IDs, and a plan. By the time I walked out, I had opened a new offshore account. Clean. Protected. Secure. A place where my money would be safe, far from his reach. I didn't feel scared. I felt steady. He thought he had all the power. He thought I would just react. But he forgot who he married. He forgot what I was before him. And now, while he kept pretending I was blind, I was already 10 steps ahead. At home, I acted like nothing had changed. I smiled when he walked through the door. I made his coffee in the morning, asked about his meetings, and laughed at his dry jokes like I always did. I kissed him goodbye and told him to drive safe. My voice was calm, and my eyes gave nothing away. He thought I was happy. He thought I was still in love. But inside, I was awake. I was watching everything. While he slept or went out for meetings, I searched through drawers and folders. I checked every old file cabinet and password notebook. He wasn't very careful. He always thought I didn't understand the boring money stuff, so he didn't hide much. I found bank statements, credit card bills, car titles, and emails. I looked through flash drives and even the back of his closet. I took pictures of everything with my phone. I saved files to a hidden folder. I wrote down every password I found, every account number, every login he used. He kept using the same few passwords over and over. That made it easy. I accessed accounts he thought I knew nothing about. Some had transfers he never told me about. Some had names I didn't recognize. I didn't panic. I kept taking notes. Quiet. Careful. At the same time, he started acting different, too. Not careful enough. He made little comments, probably trying to plant ideas in my head. Once, he mentioned how crazy some divorces get. Another time, he said something about needing a space of his own. I just nodded and smiled. Then he started test driving new sports cars. He said it was just for fun, just to see what's out there. He showed me pictures of fancy condos and bachelor-style penthouses online. I asked casual questions like I was curious, not suspicious. He explained every detail like he wanted to impress me. I let him talk. He didn't notice me watching. He thought I was slow to catch on, but I was collecting everything. Every search, every comment, every receipt. I built a folder on my laptop and backed it up twice. I saved copies to a flash drive I kept hidden in a sock drawer. I noticed when he started locking his home office door. Before, it was always open. Now he said he needed more focus. I smiled again and said I understood. That night, after he fell asleep, I used the spare key he forgot I had and quietly looked around. Nothing too strange at first. But the more I checked, the more I saw things that didn't add up. Letters, burner phones, business cards I'd never seen. I didn't take anything. I just took pictures. And before I left, I did one last thing. I placed a small hidden camera behind a row of books. He wouldn't notice it. It was tiny and the light was off. He still thinks I'm the same woman who trusted him with everything. He has no idea I'm watching now. No idea I'm listening. Let him keep thinking I'm in the dark. It's exactly where I want him to look, while I shine a light on everything he's trying to hide. The camera I placed in his office worked better than I expected. Most days, there wasn't anything too important, just him typing, talking on the phone, or sending emails. But one evening, something happened that changed everything. He didn't know the camera was on when his friend came over. They shut the door, poured drinks, and started talking like they had nothing to hide. I watched from my laptop, sitting in another room, headphones in. I didn't expect much, until I heard my name. Thomas lifted his glass and said, "I'm going to gut her clean in court." His friend laughed and asked, "You sure she won't fight back?" Thomas smiled. "She's clueless. My lawyer's setting everything up. We're going to leak fake proof that she cheated. Texts, pictures, everything. Once the media gets it, she won't stand a chance. She'll break down before we even step into court." My hands were cold as I listened. This wasn't just a divorce. This wasn't someone leaving a marriage. This was someone trying to destroy me. I sat there and listened to every word. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I just watched. Every second of that recording showed the truth. He didn't care about love or fairness. He wanted to crush me, and he thought he could do it easily. When the video ended, I saved the file and made a copy. Then I sent it to my lawyer. No message. No questions. She called me a few minutes later. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the edge in it. She said, "We can start. Right now." I said, "Do it." We didn't want him to see it coming. So the first step wasn't anything big or loud. We used a shell company, something small, nothing with my name on it. That company filed a lawsuit against one of his business projects. It wasn't directly connected to the divorce, but it was enough to hit him where it hurt. He'd feel it in his wallet before he even knew what was happening. I knew he'd be confused when it landed on his desk. I knew he'd try to figure out who was behind it, but he wouldn't guess it was me. Not yet. The next morning, I made breakfast like usual. I placed his plate on the table, poured his coffee, and asked how he slept. He smiled and said, "Like a baby." I smiled too. Let him enjoy his peace for now. Let him feel safe, feel smart. He thought he could lie, plan, and take everything from me without getting caught. But I had the truth in my hands. I had his words, his plan, his face on video, laughing about how easy it would be. He doesn't know it yet, but the game has already started. And this time, he won't be the one in control. I woke up early that morning. I didn't feel nervous. I felt ready. Everything was planned. Every phone call, every transfer, every name on the list. I had waited long enough, and now it was time to move. By noon, I had started closing accounts. Some were easy. Just a few clicks, a quick code, and they were done. Others took more steps. I spoke to people I trusted, people I had worked with for years. They didn't ask too many questions. They followed instructions, just like I needed them to. Before the sun went down, I had moved $80 million. It wasn't all from one place. It came from investments, shares, silent deals, and old holdings. I had checked each one. Some of them had been in my name for years. A few were joint, but I had the power to act first. Everything went into a trust. Not a simple one, a strong one, built with the best legal minds I knew. It had rules, locks, and layers he would never break through. His name was nowhere near it. He didn't even know the name of the company holding it. After that, I made one more call. It was about a house we owned near the coast. He liked to brag about it. He thought it was part of our shared life, something he could claim later. What he didn't know was that the deed was never in both our names. It had been bought through a holding firm under a different name, a name he never saw. That house went on the market quietly. No signs, no announcements. Just one buyer, one deal, one transfer. The sale was clean and fast. The money didn't go into any account he could trace. It was gone from his reach before he even noticed it was missing. By the end of the day, I sat back in my chair and looked at the list. Everything I needed to protect was safe. The rest could wait. My assistant walked in, holding her tablet. She looked at me and asked, "Should I book the jet?" I thought for a moment. I looked out the window. The sky was clear. Everything was quiet. Not yet. There were still a few things I wanted to finish. A few more pieces to put in place. "Not yet," I said. "One more week." She nodded and left the room. I leaned back and closed my eyes. I had taken what was mine. I had moved it far from his hands. He thought he had time. He thought he had control. But now the things he counted on, money, property, access, they were slipping away. And the best part was, he still had no idea what I had done. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked down at my hands. I let my shoulders fall and took a deep breath. Then I called out to him softly. He was in the other room. I made my voice sound small, like I was unsure. When he came in, I looked up slowly. I didn't speak right away. I wanted to seem like I was struggling to find the word. He sat down next to me, waiting. "I don't know what's wrong with me lately," I said. "I've been feeling off. Maybe it's everything piling up." He looked at me with concern. Or at least he tried to look concerned. I could tell it wasn't real. His eyes didn't match his words. He tilted his head slightly and put his hand on mine. "You've been under pressure," he said. "Maybe you just need some space. Maybe we both do." I nodded slowly. "Maybe," I whispered. "Maybe we should take a break from everything." He watched me carefully. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," I said, sighing. "I just don't have the energy for the business stuff right now. Maybe I should step back from it for a while. Take a pause. Breathe." He didn't say anything for a second. Then he smiled gently, still holding my hand. "I think that might be a good idea," he said. "Some time apart could help both of us." I looked away like I was unsure, like I was sad about it. Inside, I was calm. Every word I said was part of a plan. I needed him to think I was tired. I needed him to believe I was weak and lost. If he believed that, he'd make his move. And that's exactly what I wanted. For the next few days, I acted the same. Quiet, distant, thoughtful. I didn't bring up business. I didn't ask about his day. I let silence fill the room. He started walking around with a little more confidence, like he was already preparing for what came next. One evening, after dinner, he said, "I think we're doing the right thing." I nodded. "Yeah, maybe I'm not as strong as I thought." He gave me a soft smile and said nothing more. Then he left the room. What he didn't know was that I had seen the message he sent just a few minutes later. I had access to everything now, his emails, his texts, even the backups from his phone. I read the message as soon as it left his screen. It was to his lawyer. Simple, direct. "She's about to fold. Let's go." He thought he had won. He believed I was done fighting. That message told me everything. He was ready to file. He was ready to take the next step because he believed I was too weak to stand up to him. But what he didn't know was that I had never been more ready. Every time I acted confused, he trusted me more. Every time I looked tired, he felt stronger. And now, he had just given me what I needed, proof that he was moving forward because he thought I was giving up. I didn't need to rush anymore. I had him right where I wanted him. The trap was set. And soon he would step right into it, thinking it was his idea all along. It started with a headline. A tabloid posted a story with my name on it. They claimed I was having an affair. There were photos, screenshots, and messages that looked like they came from me. They showed a fake relationship with someone I didn't even know. The article made it sound convincing. The pictures were edited well. The texts looked real. But I knew every part of it was fake. People online believed it right away. Comments poured in. Some called me names. Others said I had ruined my marriage. They said he deserved better. They called him the victim. The media picked up the story and ran with it. It spread fast. He had done this on purpose. He wanted to control the story. He hadn't even filed for divorce yet, but he wanted the public to take his side when he did. He wanted to damage my name before I could speak. He thought if people believed I was unfaithful, they wouldn't care what he had done. But I was ready for this. I had seen it coming. Weeks earlier, I had added a forensic expert to my team. She was trained to find the truth behind digital lies. I sent her the article and the photos. She already knew what to look for. The photos were edited. The light didn't match. The background in one of them was from a hotel I had never visited. The messages were built using a fake texting app. The words were pasted together to look like a conversation. But digital files always leave a trail. She followed it. The files came from a burner phone. It was meant to be untraceable, but it had connected to our home Wi-Fi more than once. It used the same network that belonged to our house. That was a big mistake. He had created all of it, from our living room. The analyst traced the images and files back to that device. The phone had been used on certain days when I was out of town. He must have planned this over time, carefully, believing no one would ever find out. But he was wrong. Once we had the proof, I met with my lawyer. We prepared legal documents. The first was for defamation. He had lied to the media, knowing the harm it would cause. The second was for digital fraud. He had used false content to damage my name and reputation. We filed both. He had tried to win before the real fight even began. He wanted to make me look guilty before I had the chance to speak. But the truth had followed him, all the way back to his own phone. He thought he had control. He thought his story would be the only one people believed. But now, the real story was starting to come out. And this time, it had proof to back it up. I decided it was time to stop being quiet. He had tried to ruin my name in public. Now I was ready to tell part of the truth, just enough for people to start asking questions. We wrote a short statement. It didn't give away everything. It was careful. It simply said I had been the target of lies, and I was taking steps to protect myself. I didn't mention his name, but I didn't need to. People understood. I posted it online and sent it to a few trusted reporters. I gave one quiet interview using a different name. I didn't cry or beg for support. I simply told the facts, how certain stories didn't add up, how someone close to me had tried to control the truth, and how some things in the media were not real. People started to notice. They began asking, what if she's right? They started looking at him differently. A few people even went back to the fake affair story and pointed out how strange it looked. The comments changed. More and more people said something felt off. He didn't like that. He had always cared about his image. He wanted people to think he was successful, charming, and kind. But now people were using other words. Selfish, controlling, cold. People started remembering how he talked over me at events, how he acted distant in public, how he once joked about training his wife. It didn't take long for brands he worked with to start backing away. A clothing company paused a campaign he was part of. A tech firm deleted a post with his face in it. One of his sponsors made a quiet announcement that they were reviewing their partnerships. He started calling people. He tried to fix it, but the damage had started. People were unsure now. No one wanted to be the next company caught in a scandal. They didn't say he was guilty. They just said they needed time to think. Then his lawyer left him. No warning. No press release. Just a letter sent directly to him, saying they could no longer continue working on his case. He didn't understand it at first. He called them again and again, but they were done. They didn't want to be part of what was coming. I found out the same day he did. I didn't celebrate. I just marked it down in my notes. Another step. Another turn. He had tried to make me look like the one who failed. He tried to create a story where he was the victim. But the story was changing now. People were starting to see what I had seen all along. I didn't need to scream or shout to be heard. I just needed to speak clearly once. Now, the silence around him was louder than anything I could have said. And I wasn't finished yet. The day we entered the courtroom, everything looked quiet, but I knew what was coming. He walked in with that same confident look he always had. He nodded at people like he had already won. He sat down, straight-backed, smug, sure of himself. I didn't say a word. I let my lawyer speak for me. She had everything ready, documents, recordings, reports. All the work we had done in private was now ready to be shown. He started by telling the judge his version of the story. He painted me as the problem, called me unstable, accused me of dishonesty. Then his team brought up the affair story like it was real. They spoke like they were certain it would end the case right there. My lawyer stood up and handed the judge the video, the one where he laughed with his friend, bragging about setting me up. Then came the analysis report from the digital expert. It showed how the fake messages were created and how they were sent from his secret phone. It even showed when and where the phone connected to our home Wi-Fi. He started shifting in his chair. He looked away from the judge. His hands were fidgeting. Next came the financial documents. We showed how he had moved large amounts of money without telling me, opened hidden accounts, and lied about investment. We had records of his conversations, emails, and even a voice clip where he told someone I'd never notice what he was doing. People in the courtroom stared. His lawyer asked for a short break. They needed time to talk. After the break, they returned looking less certain. They tried to explain, but every excuse they gave was answered with proof. Every question from the judge brought another file from my side. There was no way out for him. The judge asked about the secret accounts and the fake affair. My lawyer gave clear answers. His team had none. The judge's face grew serious. He read through the files, looked at the timestamps, and asked how long this had been going on. In the end, the judge gave his first order. All of his accounts were frozen. Nothing could be touched or moved. The judge said there were signs of hiding money and making false claims. Until everything could be reviewed fully, he would not be allowed to use or transfer any of his funds. He didn't say a word. His eyes dropped to the floor. His lawyer packed their things quickly. They left the room with no goodbyes. I stayed seated. I watched them go. I didn't show anything on my face. Inside, I knew it was the start of the shift. He had tried to tear me down. He thought he could play dirty and win. But now the truth had caught up to him. He never thought this would happen. He thought he had every step planned. But now he was the one losing ground. And I still had more to show. It was over. The court gave the final decision, and it was in my favor. I didn't lose anything. I kept everything I had worked for. The business, the investments, the accounts. He couldn't touch any of it. The lies he told, the damage he tried to cause, all came back to him. He was ordered to pay for what he did to my name. The fake stories, the edited messages, the trouble he started, he had to answer for all of it. He had no way out this time. The same man who once said he would gut me clean now sat in silence as the court named every one of his actions. People stopped calling me a victim. They saw the truth. They saw how far he went to try to ruin me. And they saw what happened when I stood my ground. What no one else knew yet was that, during all of this, I had been writing. A journalist had been meeting with me for months. Quietly, patiently, we had recorded everything. Every step, every turn. I wasn't just fighting back. I was building something. The story wasn't just mine anymore. It was a warning, a record, a voice. The title was clear and sharp. You should have known better. After the case was done, I bought back the beach house. The one he tried to keep, the one he said was his favorite. I walked through every room, remembering how we once planned vacations there, how we sat on the porch like everything was perfect. There was one thing I didn't want to keep. The couch in the living room, the same one where we had our last real talk before everything changed. It felt heavy with memories I didn't need anymore. I had it taken outside. Then I set it on fire. I watched until nothing was left but ash. I didn't feel regret. I didn't feel sorry. I felt finished. The people who once doubted me now listened. The brands that once supported him were gone. His friends had gone quiet. His name no longer stood tall. He tried to use love as a weakness. He thought if he played smart and fast, I'd stay still. But he made one mistake. One he'll remember forever. He thought I was weak because I loved him. He forgot what I did before I met him. Betrayed but not broken. Her story proves strength rises in silence. If you believe in healing, power, and self-love, share this with someone who needs it. Comment your thoughts, and follow for more real stories of rising after the fall. Your strength starts here. Let's rise together.